Now that we've recorded a few tracks, we're going to do a little cleanup work using the editing tools we learned a few videos ago. And just taking a look at this, I've got kind of the ragged ends of these takes. Well, I can quickly adjust those. Let's just make sure snap is turned on. Down here we have snap. We can enable snapping. We can also enable snap down here. And really all we need to do is just grab this and bring it back so that we've got all these in line. I just want to make it look like we've got nice, clean, even takes. Everything's the same length. So that's the first cleanup item. Now the next thing is we've got a little timing discrepancy here between the way I played the bass line and the way I played these two guitar parts. So I'm going to move the bass line up by grabbing from near the title area and move it up here. And then I can position the cursor by just sort of grabbing and dragging here, and I can always zoom in by kind of grabbing above the cursor and pulling down. The down arrow key will also help me zoom in. And now I can get a better idea of how these things aren't quite lined up. The best way, I think, to do this is just to go in here, and we can use these tracks here. You can see the guitar parts. These aren't quite lined up. Sometimes that sounds good. I might do a little cleanup on those too as well. But the main thing here is that these notes particularly are late. So I'll use guitar 1 as my reference. Now I'm going to turn snap off, because what I want to do is put a cut right here on this part with snap off. So now I'm going to turn snap off. Q does that, or I can click down here. That way I can position it right at the edge of this. I'm going to use this waveform here. It's also lined up pretty well with beat 2 of bar 8 here. And so I'll go right here and I'll use the /. And I'm going to do the same thing right here on this note and hit the /. So I'm going to cut it right there. So I want to make a slip edit, but I don't need both of these selected. So I'll just click this one event here, and then this solid color box, as you remember, is the slip edit tool. So I'm just going to slide within the frame there this note back to where it lines up to the beginning of that clip. So I've got a little bit of extra here, so I'll just trim this back, and then I can just grab this clip and move it back here until it's lined up. You can see I've got the automatic crossfade turned on, so that will crossfade right in. Let's just listen to how that sounds. So it goes bump bump, which it really probably shouldn't do, so we'll trim this back to where it just goes bum, do a little fade out. And then those hang out a little bit longer. Maybe it needs to be replayed. Another thing we could do in this particular case is just stretch it. Click on it right here, and we have time stretching. We can put this into Elastic Tonal, and then hold down Option if you're on a Mac, or Alt if you're on a PC, and then pull from the hollow arrow here, and then that will actually stretch it. So you can stretch it out to match like that. Just move that back slightly more. So that gives us a basic ending setup for that. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning of the song, and I'm going to show you how to do some adjustment if we want to lock the feel of the bass line in with the drums. Now you might do retakes, you might do a lot of different things, but if you're composing and you're kind of working out a song, you might wind up in this mode where you've played something in and you just want to tweak it to experiment. So I like to do this kind of as I layer things up. You might want to get them all layered up and do this later, but I just wanted to show you some of these editing techniques in the context of tracking and overdubbing. I personally like to keep things kind of clean and organized so that I don't have a lot of this editing to do after the fact when I'm finished tracking. So I'm going to hit home to go back to the beginning, and then I'm just going to take a look at this bass line. Now one thing I don't really like about the playing is that I've got some notes here that don't really lock in with the kick. You can see here's the kick, so it goes bump bump here. I'm going to mute the guitar parts off so we can isolate the kick along with the bass. You can easily see the kick because you can see the way the waveform looks here is more open. You can see that this is a lower frequency. So in general, I like to, kind of lock these in together. We can lock in both the timing, and we can even decide which notes we allow to play. So I'm going to do that over the first bar here just to kind of show you what I mean, give you some ideas of things you might want to do when you're editing or working out a baseline. And it also gives you some of the ideas of how flexible traction is when it comes to this. So the way I like to do this is with snap off, I'll go back and then put the cursor, I've got this selected, this is the baseline. I'm going to drag the cursor to line up with the transient or the front edge of this kick. Now you can see if I look down, then that's nicely lined up. But I'm going to split it there anyway because I want to move this part back. So I click to select just this one clip, and now I can slip edit this back. And then I can just fade in right here and trim up the back end just a little bit. And now I should have that nicely locked in with that part. So there's bump bump. Now see, this note here doesn't have a corresponding kick. So I want to try taking it out. All I need to do that is put the cursor at the end here and then use this arrow and just bring this back. If I want to lock the timing in right here, I'll select down here, put the cursor right here. I'm using this to line it up to that kick. I'll use the / to put a split in. We'll just trim this back slightly. That actually trimmed both of them. I didn't really need to do that, but I'll select this one. Let me select this one and just trim it back. I'll select this one, use the solid box to get that transient of the bass right lined up with the kick. Use home. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was better before. We can easily go back to it by just clicking undo a few times to get to where we've got that back. Let's just listen to it again. Maybe if I just get this one where it's just solidly lined up. And I think what I'll do is reduce this one in volume a little bit. So we'll put the split back in. I'll click that one. I'll just take the gain down slightly on that one. And then I'm going to really tweak the timing of this one again. So we'll go right here, put in a split, and I'll select that clip, slip edit this back. We'll slip this note back a little bit. And then this one here, we want to make sure that it's nicely locked in. So I'll just put a split anywhere in here. So we'll select that one clip. We could just drag the entire clip until it looks like it pretty much lines up. This one here, the timing is also just slightly suspect. So same thing here. I'll just go right in here, put in the split, shorten that up a little bit, and then I'm going to adjust this until where it's right lined up like that. Now let's listen to what we've got. All right, that might work. Let's just hear it along with the guitars. All right, that actually sounds pretty good. So I'm going to move along, do a few more timing tweaks to the bass line, and then when I'm done, I'll come back and show you how to render this into one solid clip. All right, so I've been moving along, doing the edits here, and I'm not quite ready to render it. Actually, the part is pretty good after we got past the first couple bars, but here's one where I just want to show you an example of some of the ways to make this editing go faster. As you drag the cursor and you line it up with the beat, like right here, I'm going to line it up with this drum part. I'm not even going to let go of the mouse button, and I could put a split on this clip by just hitting the / key, and I can just keep doing that. I don't have to ever let go of that. And then I can just split all of these out if I want to. I'll put this one on the beat, this one right on that beat, and another one here. Now, one of the things that you might do or be tempted to do is start editing one of these. Like I want to slip edit maybe this one right here. Well, I start grabbing it and you'll see, well, the whole thing moves because they're all selected. So first of all, you can undo that with Command Z or Control Z on a PC. But if you want to, you can select any of them by just clicking on a specific clip, or you could select none of them by using the Select None command. I have that mapped to the escape key. So if I hit the escape key, clears all those selections, and then I'm ready to do my editing. So right here, I'm going to just drag this back to get that off the beat. I'll do a little slip edit right here to find the beginning of that bass line. I'll just leave it lined up. It falls a little bit late. That's the way the drummer played it. So I'm just going to lock this in with the drummer, not with the bar. And same thing here. We'll just slip this back a little bit. This is a great thing about Tractions. We got slip editing as a tool right on the clip header. So we don't have to go digging through, changing tools, or holding down key commands or anything like that. You can just do this one-handed. Right here is where I guess the timing should be. So I'll just drag this to line up with that. We can drag this back a little bit. Here I can do a little adjustment with a slip edit. Then drag this back, and so on. Let's just finish this cleanup, listen to that segment. Right, now you hear a little click. So when you do this kind of editing, when you split stuff up that's continuing to play, you might get a little click like that. Well, you can usually solve that by putting a little fade at the end of those. You might need a fade at the beginning, but we'll put fades, little fades at the end, see if that goes away. Yeah, that took that out. That takes us to the end of the song section. So I'm going to zoom completely out. I can use F5 for that just to take me to the extent. So in order to render this to one solid clip, all we need to do is select everything on that line. There's a couple ways to do it. One is to select the first clip, hold down Shift while selecting the last one. I think that's a really good way to do it. Or I'll hit Escape to select none. You can hold down Alt or Option. You get this plus selecting tool. Just drag over everything that you want. I think I showed you this before. Hit Escape there. You can also use a right-click menu right here and select all clips in this track, and does the same thing. And then down here under Render Clips, you select Render Clips, render the selected clips and replace them. That gives you an intermediate dialog box, but for most cases you can just hit Render. Now we have a single clip. Now following a render, often the clips will come out in stereo or looking like stereo. It's really a dual mono file. And if you really don't like that, it's pretty easy to convert it back to looking like a mono file. And the way you do that is down here. First you click on the clip. You can convert any stereo clip to mono doing this. You click on the clip and then use View Source here. And under here, you have the option to edit the audio file and do basic editing operations. And one of those basic editing operations is make mono. And just use average of all channels. You can use the left channel only, the right channel only. It really doesn't matter. It will give you the same result. I'll just use the left channel only and render it. And it's just saying it's permanent, which is fine. Go ahead and do that. And now we've got our single bass line. All right, so we did a little cleanup. We've got something a little more solid as we move into the next section, where we're going to do some loop recording and some comping. Thanks for watching.